Check, check. Check one, check. All right, everybody, we'll start in 3 minutes. It is 11:57 a.m. We'll start promptly at 12. All right, everyone. How are you? My name is Eddie Laporte. I'm the Executive Director of the New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives. And this webinar today is an opportunity to answer any questions you might have regarding our Social Enterprise Entrepreneurship Development Grant called SEED, SE2D. We're also streaming this live on the New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives Facebook page. And we're going to be posting this Zoom that I'm recording now onto our OFBI website page, webinar page. So let's begin. Okay, so in order to gain access to our documents and our grant opportunities, you want to go to www.nj.gov/state/OFBI.SHTML, or you can do what I do, and I simply Google the New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives, and it'll bring you up. So when you get to this page, this is our home page, what we want you to do is click on the home page and then scroll down. There's a couple of things, control of it. There we go. You'll see granting opportunities here, and then you'll see Instant Connect to the right. One of the things that we want you to do is when you click Instant Connect, it'll take you to our sign up page, which is here. And if you want to know about all the funding and other resource opportunities that the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives provides or funds, then you can fill out this document here and submit it on the bottom. And Office of Faith-Based Initiatives provides or fund. Sorry. And you can be added to our email distribution list through Constant Contact, where you will be informed of funding and other resource opportunities. Right. So again, this is our homepage, www.nj.gov/state/OFBI.SHTML, but you can always Google the New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives, and it'll take you to the right page. Okay. So when you click on grant opportunities, it'll take you to our grant opportunities page. So this red disclaimer is for Project Atlas. It has nothing to do with the SEED application. If you scroll down, you'll see our grant guidelines here. And the one that we're going to be focusing on today is Social Enterprise Entrepreneurship Development, which is this grant guidelines here. And I'll go over that in a few minutes. The due date for the application is May 21st, 2021. The supporting documents that you'll need to complete and submit is the FY22 board resolution, which if you click on this link, this will pop up. It's a fillable board resolution PDF. Just fill it out. We'll need the executive director, and this is fillable as well. So you have to download it to get the full functionality of it being fillable. We'll need the executive director's name here and the board chair's name here. And then the secretary needs to complete this section, click this box, and also type their name. We're okay with the typed name. Since we're in COVID, it's going to be hard for folks to get documents signed. So we're okay with the typed name. All right. The other thing that I want to show you here on our grants page is our technical assistance webinars. You can either click this link, or you can go to our navigation bar and click webinars. If you click the webinars or if you click this link, technical assistance webinars, you will be brought to our webinar page. Now, if you've never applied for a grant through the New Jersey Department of State Office of Faith-Based Initiatives, and you've never submitted a grant in Blue Sage, not Green Sage, but Blue Sage, you need to watch this webinar here. It's a 5-minute webinar. I'm not going to go through the steps because these webinars are really detailed. It's a 5-minute webinar that, hold on for a second. It's a 5-minute webinar that provides you with step-by-step instructions on how to register onto Blue Sage. and then it will give you all the details that you need. The next webinar that I think you need to watch is Step 1 Organizational Information. This is a pretty lengthy webinar because there's 5 pieces of information that you need to download or upload into the systems for applying for grants electronically, SAGE. That is, you're going to need the charity's registration number. You're going to need proof that that number is valid. You're going to need the division of revenue number. You're going to need proof that that number is valid. You're going to need to upload your 501c3 determination letter that states that your organization is created for charitable purposes and not religious purposes. If your 501c3 determination letter states that you're created for religious purposes, we won't be able to fund you, as we don't fund religious institutions, churches, mosques, temples, synagogues. We never have, and we're not going to. Excuse me. You're going to need to upload your certificate of incorporation, not your articles of incorporation, your certificate of incorporation, and you're going to need to upload your certificate of standing. This webinar here, Step 1, provides step-by-step instructions in real time on how to navigate the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs charitable registration portal, so that you can determine whether you have a charity registration number and whether that's valid or not, whether it's compliant or non-compliant. It will also provide you with detailed step-by-step instructions on how to navigate the New Jersey Department of Treasury so you can gain access to your certificate of incorporation, your division of revenue number, and your certificate of standing. So you're gonna have to watch this one, and I would not wait until the week that the application is due, but because you may have to upload additional information to get some of these documents, because let's say the organization is behind in submitting its yearly information. Then if you scroll down here, you'll have specific webinars for each funding opportunity. So this is for Project Atlas, this is for social innovation, this is for special project, and this one is for social enterprise entrepreneurship development, which will focus on this grant. This webinar will provide you with step-by-step instructions. We'll go over in detail the grant guidelines. It will show you in great detail how to access SAGE, which is our online electronic grant application process. And it will also show you how to create your application and submit your application from soups to nuts, right? So that's that one. Then if you go back to the grant opportunity page, you'll see on the bottom here, it says Division of Consumer Affairs Charity Registration Number, right? When you start determining or looking for your charity registration number, when you look at the Step 1 webinar organizational information, and your organization either the charity registration doesn't show up or it's invalid, you need to click this link that says DCA portal, and this document comes up. You need to read this document. I'm not going to go into it. You're going to need to read this document because it provides step-by-step instructions on what you need to do in order to get your charity registration number from non-compliant to compliant, or figure out if you need to actually register for your charity registration number. We can't help you with that. You're going to have to call, you're going to have to deal directly with this particular, with the Division of Consumer Affairs. And if you have an issue, you're going to have to call them directly at 973-504-6215. Here's the deal. This process in either getting your charity registration number from compliant to non-compliant and or registering for the first time for Division of Consumer Affairs charity registration number is a lengthy process. It's a few weeks. So I suggest that you not wait until May to get this done, okay? What else is there? So that's it. Now, what I'm not gonna do today is I'm not gonna regurgitate and repeat in detail what this webinar, Social Entrepreneurship Development Seed Grant, is going to do. This is an opportunity for me to talk about the grant guidelines, which I'm going to do here. And then at the end, I can answer any questions that you want to ask. I can allow you to ask your question verbally, or you can write your question in the Q&A, and I'll hold my reading of the questions in the Q&A box until the end. All right. So this is the grant guidelines. The application is due May 21st, 2021 at 4:59 p.m. There's a two-tier process here for the seed application, right? The maximum that you can score on the written application is 70, right? If the written application scores 39 or below, it will not be considered for tier 2. And if you're not considered for tier 2, that means you're not going to the pitch, and I'll explain that. The maximum score that any one organization can receive for the pitch is 30. So 70 and 30 at the max is 100. If you score a 40, which is above 39, anything above 39, and add the 30 to it, 40 and 30 is 70, right? Anything under 69 with the combined scores will not be considered for, will not be considered for funding, okay? Eligibility criteria: all applicants must be a nonprofit, faith and or community-based organization serving low-income residents. Applicants must be tax exempt by determination of the IRS by uploading your 501c3 determination letter, and that letter must indicate that your organization is created for charitable purposes. If, again, the 501c3 states that your organization is created for religious purposes or religious services, we can't use that, and that's not invalid because we don't fund religious institutions. And a lot of nonprofits that are created by their religious institution think that they can use their religious institution's 501c3 for funding. And that the issue is that statement, created for charitable purposes or created for religious purposes. And if it's created for religious purposes, it's a challenge for us to fund you. Applicants must be registered for the Division of Consumer Affairs for your charity registration number. You must be registered under the Division of Revenue and Enterprise Services for your business revenue number. You must also be in good standing. Ineligible applicants: houses of worship, public-private charter schools and school districts, colleges and universities. Now, on average, we fund about 5 organizations. We usually get maybe 6 organizations that apply, 6, and it's really no more than 6 or 7 organizations that apply. In the past, we used to have 2 funding pots, right? We used to have seed growth and seed startup. And it was challenging for us to fund the seed startup because the seed startup was really organizations that were thinking about entering this revenue generating platform. It was hard to find organizations that were interested in the space. So we got rid of seed startup and we just call it seed altogether. So the seed project will provide, now the funding, the maximum funding is $20,000. The total amount of funding we have is $100,000. So if you do the math, if everybody scores, I don't know, in the 90s, it's we'll be able to fund 5 organizations at $20,000. Now, the seed project will provide capital, to existing social enterprise ventures with the intent to leverage our capital or our grant with other private investments designed to grow and eventually scale your particular enterprise. The seed funding is a revenue generating model, right? So the idea of seed is to say, okay, we identify a particular social issue, and because we identified that particular social issue, it moved us to create this revenue generating model where we can sell our product or services to a market that would be willing to pay fair market rate for this product or services. The revenues that are generated from those sales allow us then to address a particular social issue that we've identified. That's the premise of social enterprise. That's the premise. And we're trying to give an opportunity to nonprofits to move in that space, right? Applications submitted. SEV must be beyond the prototype and testing phase. So we're asking you that if you're applying for this particular grant, that you are beyond pre-startup and you are ready to actually launch your approach moving forward. You have some experience, you've tested it somehow, you have a prototype and you're ready to move forward. And our grant can help you realize that. You must be in operation for at least the past 2 years. You must generate some level of revenue. We're not gonna say that you got to break even, but you got to at least show that you're generating some level of revenue, and that the purpose of the program is to address a particular social issue. Our funding period is from July 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. The application is due May 21st. So now, this section is explained in detail in the webinar that is right here. It's explained in detail in this webinar right here. So I'm not gonna repeat it. What I'm gonna simply do is just go over this, and then if you have any questions, then it's an opportunity for me to answer it, right? So the executive summary. Now, the application is built on the template of a business plan. So, right, so because we're forcing you to think about your approach in terms of a business. And I know that nonprofits are a business, but this approach is a revenue generating model, and we need you to think along those lines. So we're gonna ask you for an executive summary, which is this section here, and we're asking you to answer these two bullets. No other bullets, just these two bullets in this section. Indicate the title of the project, indicate the amount that you are applying for, assure that all clients receiving services are low income, and explain how you will verify those low income statuses, right? So here's the deal. Your market for whatever product or service you're selling can't be targeted to people who are poor, because they don't have the economic wherewithal to sustain your particular venture. So your market needs to be, you know, those individuals that can pay fair market rate for your product and services, right? You want to also, for this statement of collaboration, briefly indicate the role of each collaborating partner that's going to help you move your mission and vision forward. We're not asking you to submit letters of support, because we're in COVID and it's challenging to get those letters of support. So in the application, when you watch that webinar, explain what and where you have to upload, indicate who your collaborating partners are. Social enterprise venture concept. In this section, we need you to answer these two bullets. Provide a brief history of the organization, what prompted it to develop a social enterprise? Like, what was the reason that forced you to create this approach? Explain in detail how the purpose of the venture aligns with the mission of the organization, right? So whatever venture you're creating or you're moving with or you're implementing must align with your vision, right? And it should, and you need to indicate that. The next section is description of business, product, or service. We just need to answer these two bullets. Describe in detail the product, services that will be brought to market. Like, what is it that you're selling to a market that can pay fair market rate for whatever it is? Like, what is it? What exactly are you bringing to market, right? This is not an opportunity. See, the seed project is not a project where you help individuals create businesses. This is not what this is. This is not what this is, because there are organizations that do that, and there are organizations that we fund to do that. This is an approach where the organization identifies a product or service and then moves to sell that product or services to a market that can pay fair market rate for it, right? So the second bullet is explain in detail how the purpose of the venture, my bad, description of business, product, and services. So describe in detail the product, services that will be brought to market, right? And describe the strength of the industry and the venture's competitors. So if you're bringing something to market, you're addressing, it's part of a particular industry. And you've got to figure out what that industry is, right? And then in this section, you need to indicate to us, well, who are your competitors? And it doesn't necessarily have to be other nonprofits. It can be commercial enterprises that you're competing with, because we need to figure out, have you thought that through? Have you figured out who are your competitors and who are your alternate competitors, right? So when you're thinking about competitors, you also need to think about, well, whatever market you're marketing your product or services to, they have alternate options to go to. So you need to tell us who those alternate options are, and then what makes you so special in your particular place. And listen, saying, oh, we're a nonprofit and we think that people are going to buy our stuff because we're a nonprofit. No, that's not going to work. Let me tell you why. I love Girl Scout cookies. I love them. I buy them. And when I see them at the train station, I get them. If I see them in front of 7-Eleven, I buy them, right? I know nonprofits that sell cookies. I don't buy their cookies. Why? Because I'm stuck to Girl Scouts. I like Girl Scouts cookies. And so you need to somehow pull me from that market, Girl Scout cookies, to your market, right? And how are you going to do that, right? So in this section, you need to describe that. Social opportunity recognized, this section here. Describe the social issue that is being addressed. Again, remember, seed is a revenue generating model, and the creation of the venture is based on an issue that you've identified socially that you want to address. And because you want to address that issue in an innovative fashion, you created this venture. So we're asking you in social opportunity recognized, describe the social issue that is being addressed. How will the venture help the organization address that particular social issue? And what are the specific ways that make the approach a social entrepreneurial approach? Right? What exactly is that? Now, I've talked about, what a social enterprise venture is. I talked about that it is created, that the catalyst for the creation of the venture is based on the identification of a social issue that you think you can address in a totally different and unique way, right? Then in this section, business social goals and objectives. What are the business goals and objectives of the organization? Like, what do you want to achieve with this grant? Do you want to gain a larger share of the market? Then you're going to have to tell us what that market is. What percentage do you currently have in that market, if any, and what percentage do you think you can gain access to? If part of the business goals of this money is to hire a marketing specialist to help you figure out who your market is, who your competitors are, who your alternate competitors are, then you can do that. If this thing is about creating an e-commerce platform, then you need to indicate to us what that's going to do and how that's going to help you generate revenues. If you're going to use the funding to purchase an inventory type of a program to manage your inventory, then how is that going to help the business grow and generate more revenue, right? And then we're going to need the social goals and objectives. If all this stuff happens in the business and you generate revenue, what impact is that going to have on the organization to address a social issue that you originally identified that created this particular social venture moving forward? Okay. Defining the market, right? This section here. Indicate who comprises the market that is requesting that the social issue be addressed in the manner that the proposed social enterprise venture would address it. What we're simply saying here is there's two markets, right? You have a capital market, which is the market that will pay a fair market rate for your product or services. And then you have the social market, the market that is negatively being impacted by the social issue that they're struggling with to overcome, right? So whatever your social approach is to address that, you need to also make sure that that market, that social market, the people who are poor that are dealing with the social issue and just can't seem to get out of it, want that issue addressed the way you think it needs to be addressed, right? Like, how do you know that they want to, go to college? How do you know that? Maybe your social issue is to create greater access to colleges, universities. And so you're doing this social venture to generate revenue so you can get this revenue and so you can better prepare them to go to college. The question is, how do you know they want to go to college? How do you know they rather work than go to college? Like, what is it that tells you that your social approach is the way that the social market wants it addressed, right? Under defining the market, we also need to know, describe in detail the willingness of customers to pay for the service or product that's being brought to market. Now, remember, I said earlier, your customers can't be poor people. They can't be. Why? Because they don't have the economic wherewithal to keep you sustainable, right? Financially. So we're asking you here, who is your market that's going to pay fair market rate for this? Who are they? Where do they live? What is their economic status? Are they homeowners? Like who are they? Like what makes them who they are that gives them this dispensable capital that you're going to have to pull from their existing market that they love to buy Girl Scout cookies to then pull them from that market to your market. Like what exactly, how does that work? How is that going to look? Right? And you do the best you can. We're not expecting you to have a real business savvy in terms of commercial enterprise, but this is forcing you to think about your venture in the world of business. All right. The next bullet is describe in detail the willingness of clients to participate in the social enterprise venture, right? So again, you have the social market, those individuals that are dealing with the social issue, and how do you know they want the social issue that you've identified and addressing the way that you're identifying and addressing, all right? Operation plans, this section here. Describe in detail the design of the social enterprise venture. Describe the manufacturing process if applicable, right? So when I say describe in detail the design of the social enterprise venture, like what is the venture? What is it? What is the day-to-day operation? What do you do in that venture on a day-to-day to get the product or service in a place where you can sell it? Like what exactly does that look like? If you have a manufacturing process, then talk about that. Not many nonprofits do. Describe the physical facilities and equipment that allow the venture to operate. Do you have a standalone store? Do you do this in the back of the nonprofit? Do you do this in a garage? What equipment do you have to make sure that this happens? We funded an organization a few years ago that wanted to make cookies, and they were selling cookies, and I wouldn't buy the cookies. But they got these large commercial ovens that allowed them to scale up their cooking making, right? So that's a good deal. That's a good use of the money. Describe any regulatory and or legal issues that must be addressed, right? Do you need a license to do whatever it is you're doing? Do you need okay from the city where you're actually located to do what it is you're doing? If you're selling across state line, do you have to make sure that you can do that? How do you collect taxes in California if New York doesn't allow you to do, how does that work? In the budget section, you need to upload, you need to complete all the forms in Sage. And if you watch the webinar, it talks to you and tells you step by step on how to complete the budget forms. They were under required appendices here. It says you need to upload the board resolution, which is this document here, right? You need to upload a sales and revenue spreadsheet. It's just a basic spreadsheet. What were your sales? How much revenue did you bring in, right? And if you didn't have any sales, you say, yo, last year was tough, Eddie. It was COVID-19. It was COVID-19. What do maybe we sold, I don't know, $100 worth of stuff, but be honest. Show us your resiliency during COVID-19 and you're still here and you still want to stay in this game. And then what are your projected sales for this year going into next year, right? Since we're slowly moving out of COVID, you've learned resiliency from last year, you're still in business, maybe not as successfully as you want it to be, but you're still in it. What do you think your projected sales might be for next year and your revenues? So the max is 70 total points here. The information down below talks about non-discrimination by religious organizations, recognition of cultural sensitivity, reporting requirements, training, and the like. All right, so look at that, 30 minutes, like I said. So I see that there are 2 questions. So I'm going to, can I make the screen bigger? No. Can organizations that received previously growth funds apply again? Barbara, yes. So I answered that. Can you make the screen bigger? No, we're on Zoom. And if you're on a phone or a tablet and you have a touch screen, you can expand the screen. Can organizations that received growth funds apply again? Yes, Barbara, yes, you can. Okay, so I answered those, answered live. Are there any other questions? If you want to ask a question, you can simply raise your hand, and I will allow you to talk. You know, that's the superpower I have. And then you can ask your question verbally. So I'll wait a couple seconds, and if not, the assumption is that I've answered most of your questions and that you should be okay. So we started on time, 12 o'clock, and we ended at 12:30. Let me see if there's any other questions in the question and answer section. There aren't any more questions in the question and answer section. So I'll assume that I've done a pretty good job and I've answered whatever questions you had during my presentation. Again, the application is due May 21st. Do not wait until the week of May 21st. Oh, we got a question. We got a question. I got a hand up. Uh-oh, I'm excited. Here we go. All right, Sherry, you can talk. What's up? Unmute yourself.
Yeah, I just had to raise my hand just because, but I might have missed it. I'm sure you probably said it, that the pitch, is that going to be virtual or in person?
No, it's going to be virtual. Good question. So we're gonna listen. I've always wanted to do the pitch virtual before COVID. COVID came, and then we're never gonna leave the virtual space again. So we're gonna, and it makes it a lot easier for folks from South Jersey to participate in a 10-minute pitch as opposed to driving for 2 hours for 10 minutes. So it's gonna be virtual. Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right. No lower hand. Any other questions? Anybody? Okay, folks, this is recorded on the New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives Facebook page. And I'm also going to upload this Zoom presentation that I recorded onto our website. So if you missed anything, you can go back, you can visit our Facebook page and you can re-listen to it. It's 30 minutes. It's actually 20 minutes. And then if you have any questions, you can email us at ofbi@sos.nj.gov. That's O as in Oscar, F as in Frank, B as in boy, I as in Indian, at sos.nj.gov. All right, everyone, have a nice day. I am going to stop the live stream and I am going to